Hey, good Wednesday morning. Thanks for checking out the latest long-range video forecast. This is Kirk Hens, meteorologist with BAM Weather here. So we're going to take today in two different directions. We're going to focus on the next couple of weeks in terms of the pattern, the drivers behind that pattern, and then we're going to look at summer here. We haven't talked about summer since our spring webinar reveal here a couple weeks ago here. So again, stay tuned for that. But this was a picture this morning of the radar, and I just wanted to show you guys what was going on. We're based in Indianapolis here. It was crazy. We had thunder snow, 1 inch per hour snowfall. We transitioned to heavy sleet, and then we transitioned to rain here. Just a crazy amount of precipitation working in. Then you woke up, many folks woke up this morning and probably didn't even know it snowed because it had, we had worked in such warmer air behind this system here that it kind of ate a lot of it away. But we had some nice accumulating snow here, eastern Indiana into Ohio. And I show you this because it's been crazy active here in parts of the Ohio Valley, Tennessee, Missouri valleys, and that looks to continue overall for the most part as we go forward. So this is our intro slide here. I'm not going to read through it all, but again, I want you to focus on these dates up here, guys, these storm fronts and dates. We work really hard to try to keep you guys ahead of these, and notice how active March is. Just through the first half of the month, we have 5 different storm dates. So that tells you right in there, if you're a fan of, right there, a fan of severe weather here, I would keep an eye out. Parts of the southern Ohio Valley, Tennessee, Missouri valleys, deep south, somewhere in there, as I think that's where overall the storm track can shift. But man, that is going to be a very active time frame. Then obviously we're going to touch on the summer, the latest ENSO forecast plumes, and what those analogs look like for our initial thoughts for summer. So the next 2 weeks here, this is kind of an all-in image here with all 9 different models: European ensemble, American ensemble, Canadian ensemble. And I show you this because it's astounding how close all the models are, not just in the 6 to 10, which generally happens, but look at the 11 to 15 day forecasts from all of them. Minus 15, minus 20 widespread. We're breaking the color table for over 10 days straight in the northern plains, and I'm going to share with you here a reason why we're finally able to work in this cold east and just knock out some incredible amounts of heating demand as we open up meteorological spring here, March 1st. So reason number 1 here, so we got multiple different drivers here. This whole winter, it's felt like we've had a disconnect between our atmosphere and the ocean from El Nino, and we felt so much like La Nina in our atmosphere here. So this is number 1 here. We're seeing a closer agreement of El Nino in our atmosphere and in our ocean here, and that's huge. So this starts with our equatorial Pacific. This red essentially just means a westerly wind burst, which is associated more with El Nino, where we're able to work in more warmer waters across the central Pacific. We're seeing that right here. This is definitely more of an El Nino look than what we've seen over the past month. Look at the Southern Oscillation Index. If you're negative in the SOI, you're generally El Nino. If you're greater than, I think, -7, and if you're over +7 in the SOI, you're generally La Nina. Look at the tank that we've had since, I would say, the beginning part of February. Recently, we've been -30 to -40 here. Another reason why we are so stinking active into the first half of the month is a lot of times when you drop over 10 points in the SOI, you can correlate that to 15 to 20 days later of some kind of a storm date here in the central U.S. So again, a huge factor behind that. So feeling El Nino there. The AAM here, it's twofold here. Overall, we've seen the global AAM positive, which generally speaking is an El Nino trait. And then you look at here, our subtropics here, where our weather comes from is the Pacific Ocean. We've been feeling like La Nina, hence the warmer east. But notice the relax recently here over the past 5 days or so, over the past week, which means we're able to transition that more to feeling like either neutral or more El Nino and extend that jet further east here. That's important across the Pacific. You look at the Madden-Julian oscillation. We have 8 phases of the MJO. Classically in winter, phases 8, 1, and 2 bleed that cold across the central and eastern U.S. here, and we're in there for a considerable amount of time as we open up the month of March. And what that looks like generally for winter is you can associate more of an East Pacific ridge or a positive PNA or a negative EPO up here, and you can shunt that cold further east here. So we're clearly seeing that. This is the forecasted 500 millibar pattern, about 30,000 feet above our head, and you can get a good idea of the pattern driver here. We have a huge ridge over Alaska, and we have that Hudson Bay low pressure that's dropping in significant amounts of cold. What's also interesting on the next couple of slides I'm going to show you is we're hitting that polar vortex again. We're hitting it from 2 sides. We're hitting it from Alaska and we're hitting it from Greenland. And what it does is it squeezes it and it pushes down further south. We're displacing it. So what does that look like here? This is the forecast. This is day 5. Notice how the lobe is still in the western U.S. Hence our week 1 forecast is still overall really cold in the western U.S. and overall warm in the east here. So that cold air supply is bottled up to the north and to the west. Look at the 5 to 10 day forecast. We're squeezing it and we're pushing it down more right over the northern plains. So we're just dumping in just significant amount of colder air relative to normal. Now, I don't want you to take this snowfall forecast from the GFS verbatim. What I want you to get at is notice how active it is. I mean, widespread double-digit snow here, especially in the north-central U.S., that will contribute to very cold conditions. Not only there, but that allows it to modify the air and it allows it to bleed east and be colder here than maybe what sometimes the forecast models can pick up on. This is another way to look at it. This is snowfall anomaly here from the European ensemble, and next 2 weeks, if we're saying from a 10-to-1 ratio here, we're 8 inches above normal for Iowa here. It just shows you how stinking active it's going to be over the next 2 weeks. For sure, especially I would say over the next week. So this is our week 1 forecast here again. We're very cold in the western 2/3 of the United States. We're warm here overall per the seasonal in the eastern U.S., and we will continue to knock this out, push this further east. I mean, check out our week 2 forecast. This is one of the bigger minus 20 plus areas we've ever had. And again, we're feeling that El Nino coupling of the atmosphere and into the ocean. We're able to overall just shunt the cold further east. This is what we thought would happen overall into February, but it's just been lagged. You know, we just have seen some lagged La Nina impacts here, and that's just the case. And finally, it's starting to show up. So looking at precipitation real quick here, super active jet streams for week 1. You can see 2 different kind of areas here of a corridor. You can see one up here in the northern plains. You can see one up here also in the south and eastern United States that's pumping in significant moisture. You know, check out our local updates for more details on this, but we're eyeing another probably blizzard for eastern parts of Nebraska, western Kansas, or excuse me, western Iowa, parts of Minnesota, maybe Wisconsin here as we get into the weekend here, and maybe some strong storms here as we get into parts of the Missouri Valley and maybe the Ohio Valley as well. Very gusty conditions on Sunday. This is the European ensemble percent of normal here, just active, very active jet stream here. You'll be hard pressed to find any of the central U.S. and the Ag Belt below normal in this time frame. Again, this is our official forecast as well here. There'll be parts of the northern and northwestern plains below normal, but overall, the most of us are above normal. And check out how much rain continues here in the Missouri, Tennessee valleys and Ohio Valley. That could be a problem getting deeper into that planting season. But looking into the week 2, we do see a different oriented jet stream here. And what I mean by different oriented is this is the extended Pacific jet stream that I mentioned that is associated in helping us getting cold. Notice how much further south that it is. It's focused more here. So there is a possibility in the week 2 time frame a lot of our storm dates could ride more into the deep south, into the southern Tennessee Valley, and that could allow for some drier conditions, at least per versus week 1, to settle up as well. And this is a look at the GFS ensemble. It kind of shows that as well. So at least maybe taking a break from the blizzards that we have, you know, in the week 1 time frame. This is our forecast here for that time frame. This is how we're kind of opening up meteorological spring. So still very wet in the south and east, but let's transition into summer real quick. This is a look at the IRI that came out yesterday here. It's just the world's biggest multi-model ensemble. It takes in every single, basically, country that issues a weather forecast, and it blends it all together, and it gives us just a generalized idea here. And you got to remember, we're going into a spring barrier. The forecast models struggle immensely in the spring at forecasting what's ahead in the summer, which isn't that far out, but it's just statistically and historically, that's just what happens. And overall, the IRI and all the models here, the model blender just kind of says we're hanging around in maybe a weak El Nino or kind of a warm neutral here. There are a couple members here that kind of get us down to neutral here, but not very many. So just looking at this from a perspective here, we can get maybe somewhat of an idea. A warm neutral or a weak El Nino here for lagged effects for summer. And you look at the European model as well. Now again, this is the true spring barrier. You can either be +2 or you can be -1 here as you get into the summer as well. But you can see the general theme overall is just kind of steady state in terms of benzo. So looking at these analogs here, I'm not going to read them all off, but this is our top 5 up here in the kind of the top of this graphic here. And guys, when you're El Nino in the summer, you're not really warm. I mean, there's a lot of risk that overall we can just be seasonal to below normal even for most of us, and maybe some warmth down here above normal warmth in the southwestern plains and the southern U.S., but totally different from last year. We had some record warmth as we opened up May and into June as well. And look at the precipitation. This is classic El Nino. A lot of precipitation focused up here in basically all the plains, the Ag Belt here, the eastern United States, maybe a little bit of dryness here in Texas and areas down into the south and to the west. But the reason I show you this is the European monthly here. This is the summer forecast. Notice it's not totally different. Notice is the central U.S., we're kind of neutral to below normal overall, not really a signal at all for above normal warmth. And look at its precipitation forecast as well. This would tell me if we continue this trend in ENSO, when we do not drop it, we don't go to an ENSO neutral or a cold neutral, you know, ENSO, that we have a good shot at least normal conditions for the summer and really good growing conditions as well. So again, I'm not seeing the signals right now to have a repeat of last year with problems with the growing season possible. So that's all I have today, guys. I know we kind of switched gears there, but if you have any questions, let us know. Again, we continue to favor that cold lingering into the first half of March, and then we'll touch more on tomorrow at the end of the week in terms of when we think that flip can continue to the second half of March and into the rest of spring. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you soon.